At the beginning of the movie, we see Michael Jackson heading toward his show, the details of which you will soon discover. Michael's story began in 1966 in Gary, Indiana, where children were playing outside a small house. Seeing them made Michael happy. He was just a young child himself at the time. Suddenly, his father, Joseph, forced Michael to join his brothers. The five of them had formed a band and were practicing their music. Michael was already an expert singer, so Joseph trained him rigorously to ensure he would become a great performer. His mother, Catherine, did not approve of this strictness, but she was unable to intervene due to Joseph's stern nature. Once Joseph felt the children had learned enough, the family gathered for dinner. Everyone seemed happy as Joseph announced that they had to support one another because they finally had the chance to perform at a bar. Catherine pointed out that Michael still had his schooling to finish, but Joseph countered by saying they could go much further than education. He believed they had to make sacrifices to make their son a famous singer. The children were ready for the challenge. Joseph taught Michael and his brothers how to dance while playing music to impress the audience, naming the group the Jackson 5. They began performing at small clubs where they were widely loved. Michael had always been fond of footwork, and he danced with a unique style that moved his feet in a way that captivated people. The audience was so impressed that they would throw coins at his feet. When they returned home, everyone was ready for bed, but Joseph ordered them to practice instead. He was furious because he had told Michael not to dance so much. He felt the footwork was distracting the audience from Michael's singing. In his anger, Joseph grabbed Michael and beat him with a belt before ordering everyone back to training. Michael went inside crying, while Catherine remained helpless, unable to protect her son. On the weekends, Michael kept his inner child alive by reading stories of Peter Pan. As time passed, the Jackson 5 continued their steady practice, and their opportunities grew as they began performing at major shows. With fame came a desire to innovate. Michael loved watching new dance moves on TV and incorporating them into his performances. Despite frequently being punished by his father for these creative diversions, Michael refused to let his performance quality slip. As the band's popularity soared, the family began to grow wealthy, and Michael mastered various intricate footwork styles. In the 1970s, the Jackson 5 were set to perform at the Regal Theater. After witnessing a spectacular opening act, the lead singer invited the brothers onto the stage. Their performance was a massive hit, catching the eye of a woman named Susie who was deeply impressed. She gave Joseph her card and invited them to the studio. A few days later, Joseph met Berry Gordy, a powerful music producer for whom Susie worked. Berry asked Michael to record a song solo. Sensing Michael's nervousness, Berry encouraged him to let go and sing while dancing however he pleased. As Michael performed with his signature movements, Berry was stunned by his voice and recognized him as a future global superstar. Berry took Michael under his wing, teaching him the complexities of music production to deepen his understanding of the craft. When Joseph arrived to take Michael home, Michael warmly said goodbye to Berry, a gesture of independent connection that Joseph clearly disliked. A year later, Michael shot his first music video. Upon its launch, he and his brothers handled the media spotlight during their tour. Their hit song ABC became one of the top 100 chartbusters in the world. By 1971, this success allowed the family to move into a magnificent villa. Michael was now a world-class star. Joseph introduced Michael to Bill, who was to become his personal bodyguard, and the two quickly struck up a friendship. Despite his fame, Michael still spent his nights watching movies with his mother, Catherine Kate, and dreamt of showing the world his unique foot dance style. One day, Michael told Kate he wanted to keep animals as pets at home. Though she initially refused, he eventually won her over. Michael confessed to his mother that he felt his father didn't see him as a child, but rather as a source of power to be used. Kate comforted him, saying, "Son, you are more talented than your brothers, but they have always stood by you. Because of that, never forget your family." A few days later, Michael performed at a fair. The girls there were becoming obsessed with him, and Michael remained very happy spending time with his brothers. 7 years passed, and Michael's life had changed significantly as he entered adulthood. He met Quincy Jones, a legendary music producer, and the two decided to collaborate on a new album. Since Michael was still afraid to speak to his father directly, Quincy's team approached Joseph to discuss the album. They explained that this project could make Michael an even bigger star and generate massive revenue through merchandise. Joseph, who was acting as Michael's manager, insisted that Michael's brothers must be included in the album because they were the Jackson 5, and Michael would always perform with his family. The producers asked for some time to think it over. By this time, Michael had started keeping a horse at his home, spending his nights talking to the animal. Soon, Michael began recording new tracks with Quincy for what would become the Off the Wall album. Michael had become a true expert in his craft, and as a global star, he constantly worked to improve his dance moves for his music videos. As Michael recorded hit after hit with Quincy, his fame reached new heights. Despite the spotlight, he found peace in visiting sick children, spending a great deal of time with them. Around this time, Michael bought a chimpanzee to live with him, naming him Bubbles. His father and several others in the household didn't approve, but Michael stood his ground, and they eventually had to accept it. Michael began training Bubbles and even read Peter Pan stories to him. One night, while looking at Peter Pan's nose in a book, Michael felt it looked beautiful and became self-conscious, feeling his own nose was too large. He visited a doctor for rhinoplasty. When the doctor asked for the reason, Michael explained, "I'm a star now. Photographers are always taking my picture and my face needs to look perfect for them. That is why I want to make my nose perfect." The doctor agreed, and after the surgery, Michael returned home with his new look. When Joseph saw him, Michael explained that he simply wanted his nose to be perfect. Joseph just laughed and said nothing, and Michael retreated to his room. At this point, Michael was becoming increasingly conscious of his appearance. He had also started keeping many more animals at the house. Later, he went to meet Joseph, who had gathered all the brothers together. Joseph informed them that one brother had left the band, but insisted the Jackson family would not break apart. They could still take over the world. He announced he was setting up a new tour for all the brothers. No one liked the idea, but Joseph threatened them, saying they had to take advantage of Michael's fame. When Michael refused, Catherine Kate supported her son. Joseph snapped, "I make the decisions in this house," and marched toward Michael in a rage. Feeling crushed, Michael stormed out. Even as he walked through crowds of fans, he felt broken inside. Michael confided in his bodyguard, Bill, about how he had been suppressed by his father since childhood. He expressed his desire to perform solo tours. Bill gave him some pivotal advice. "You are an adult now. If you want, you can leave your father's management." Michael thought deeply about this, though he continued the scheduled tours with the Jackson 5 for a while. Due to his immense stardom, every show was sold out. After one performance, Michael met with his music director and a prominent lawyer named John Branca. Knowing that John handled legal affairs for major singers, Michael asked him to work for him. His first request was clear. He needed a new manager and wanted his father removed from the position. Recognizing Michael's potential to become the biggest star on earth, John agreed. That evening, Joseph received a fax stating that Michael had fired him as his manager. Joseph was livid and went to Kate to vent his rage. Kate stood her ground, saying, "He is a grown man now, you can't hit him anymore." Joseph was furious with Kate, but she told him it was time to let Michael go. She reminded him that Michael was no longer a bird to be kept in a small cage and that everything they had was because of him. Joseph retorted, "I am the one who made him. I made him capable of having all of this." Kate simply replied, "You can think whatever you want." As the days went by, Michael and Bill would often go shopping together. Whenever children and their mothers recognized him, Michael would stop to give them autographs and gifts. He felt a deep connection with children because he had never truly experienced a childhood of his own. In them, he saw the childhood he lost. Gradually, he surrounded himself with even more animals at home. One day, Joseph showed him a letter and said, "Just remember, whatever I did for this family." But Michael was no longer afraid of him. Michael frequently visited children suffering from cancer and developed a strong friendship with John Branca. He preferred to keep his distance from the world, as he disliked exposing his personal life to the public. John respected his privacy. Michael spent his time brainstorming titles for his next albums and planning his performances. Every morning, he would head to his private home studio to analyze his work. While the tunes were coming together, he was still struggling to write the lyrics. During this time, Michael witnessed the rising gang violence among black communities in the city. Seeing people kill one another broke his heart. He couldn't understand why there was so much hatred. He decided to try and change things. Accompanied by Bill, Michael ventured into secret underground clubs where these gangs hung out and showcased their street dancing talents. Michael met with the gang members, urged them to stop the violence, and invited them to feature in his new music video. They agreed, and Michael began dancing with them, even teaching them new steps. These scenes highlight just how exceptional Michael's talent really was. Quick interruption. If you're enjoying the story so far, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Help me hit the target of 1,000 subscribers and likes. Michael eventually recorded Beat It, which turned out to be a phenomenal track. However, Quincy Jones initially lacked the confidence to make it the lead single of the album. Around the same time, Michael watched a horror movie and was deeply impressed by the scenes. He wanted to try something entirely different, leading to the creation of Thriller. We see the entire making of Thriller in these scenes. It started with a very different style, but Michael's relentless search for perfection led him to keep refining it until it became the best version possible. This is exactly why the song remains iconic to this day. Michael then launched his album under the title Thriller, which went on to become the best-selling album in the world. Michael, accompanied by John Branca, went to meet Walter Yetnikoff, the music executive at CBS. Walter began praising the album for breaking new records, but Michael was firm with him, saying, "I am upset with you because you aren't promoting my songs on MTV." Walter explained that MTV was hesitant because they didn't typically promote songs by black artists. Michael insisted, "You have to do this and not later, right now. Speak to them kindly and perhaps they will agree. Otherwise, I may consider working with another agency." Taking the threat seriously, Walter called MTV and warned them that if they didn't air Michael Jackson's videos, he would pull the rights to all his other major artists as well. Soon, the Thriller video was playing on MTV, and Michael Jackson became a household name across America. By 1983, Michael was performing on stage and he was truly unstoppable. He had the full support of the public. If he so much as stood on a street corner, massive crowds would instantly gather. After one of his shows, he met with his family. Everyone was happy, but Joseph eventually approached Michael and praised him, calling him a money-making machine. This comment soured the mood for everyone, and Joseph eventually walked away to get a drink. A few days later, a boxing promoter named Don King met with Joseph. He wanted the Jackson 5 to do a tour across America and offered a massive sponsorship deal with PepsiCo in exchange. However, he expressed doubt about whether Michael, now a solo superstar, would agree to perform with his brothers again. Joseph promised him that they would arrange the biggest tour the world had ever seen. That night, after Michael and his mother, Kate, finished watching a movie, she went to bed. When Michael went to his room, he found Joseph waiting for him. Joseph started by praising Michael for becoming one of the biggest stars in the world, but Michael cut to the chase and asked for the real reason he was there. Joseph said, "Son, your brothers need a tour. I don't want you to do this for me but for your family." Michael replied, "Dad, I want to live my own life. I've already done everything that was right for the family." Joseph then began to emotionally blackmail Michael, telling him he must do it for his family and for the black community, who had suffered so much. Michael felt pressured and fearful, but Joseph simply demanded an answer soon and left the room. Michael reflected deeply on the situation. A few days later, he was still performing with his brothers. The director wanted to make the show even more explosive, planning a spectacular entry for Michael by positioning him high above the stage. At this time, Michael began hiding his hands, as he had started suffering from a skin condition that deeply troubled him. As the pyrotechnics went off and Michael danced forward, a stray spark ignited his hair. His head was engulfed in flames. The crew rushed to his aid amidst the chaos and screams. Severely injured, Michael was rushed away in an ambulance. Later, the doctor informed the family that Michael was safe. While everyone was relieved, Joseph immediately asked, "Can he still perform?" Both Catherine and the doctor were stunned. The doctor clarified that Michael had narrowly escaped death and would need months to recover. Because a portion of his scalp was permanently scarred, the doctor explained he would have to wear realistic-looking hairpieces from then on. Michael accepted this. During his recovery, he spent his days watching cartoons, cared for by Bill and his family, while receiving a flood of get-well messages from fans worldwide. Michael continued to find joy in spending time with children. When John Branca came to visit, he was pleased to see Michael in high spirits. John informed him that they were suing PepsiCo for negligence, and the settlement would result in significant compensation. Meanwhile, Joseph tried to convince Catherine that he had signed numerous contracts for the Jackson 5 tour. If Michael didn't complete it, they risked losing their home. Catherine disagreed, feeling Joseph was suffocating Michael and believing he should live life on his own terms. When Joseph asked what would happen to his other children, Catherine replied that they could find their own paths. Eventually, Michael told Bill, "I've decided I can't do this forever. I need to move forward on my own." Bill agreed it was the right choice. In 1984, at Dodger Stadium, Michael performed one last time with his brothers. His performance was legendary and the audience was electric. At the end of the show, Michael announced to the world that this was his final performance as part of the Jackson 5. While the fans roared with excitement, Michael caught sight of a furious Joseph in the wings. Ignoring his father's rage, Michael finished the performance and shared a final goodbye to the audience with his brothers. As he walked away, he left Joseph's shadow behind for good. The story shifts to 1988 in London. Michael is seen heading toward the stage for a solo performance, looking genuinely happy and fulfilled. He had finally decided to move forward alone, independent of his family's control, a journey that continues in the second part of the film. And with that, this incredible movie comes to an end. How did you like this story? Let us know in the comments and feel free to enjoy our other films.